So there are certain situations where we want to share password with someone, right? So for example, you have joined a new company and HR want to share the new password with you, right? The HR portal password. Or if say for example, you are a freelancer and you have completed a project just now and you want to hand over all the data to your client, right? So it could be a database that you have created, or it could be a file store that you have created, or it could be a shared hosting that you have created, and you want to share the password, the access to the site that you have created, right? So usually how we share password, we share it through a Teams channel, or we share it in WhatsApp, or we write it on a piece of paper and share it, right? So this is absolutely insecure way to share the password, right? And it's very easy that somebody might get access to that paper, or that paper might get lost, right? Or somebody might have read the chat and they will get the access to the password, right? So what we are going to do, we are going to build a secure way of sharing password. So what we will do, we will store the password in our system and it will create a URL for you, and that URL you can share to the person, and when the person visits the URL, they will have the access to the password. Now what are the advantages that we are getting here? The URL is short lived, that means after some time the password will be automatically deleted from the system, and even if you try to access, it will not give you any result, right? Also, the creator of the password can decide how many times the URL can be used, right? So for example, 2 times or 3 times. So if you attempt the 4th time, it will not give you any result. It will, by that time the password has already been deleted, right? So this is a secure way of sharing password. So the intention of this video is to learn about secure way of building application, how we are going to store the password, how we are going to generate a link, right? And how we are going to do the validation. So this is the main objective of this video, right? So, and I have built a very unique feature in this application where it is very convenient for someone to share the password as well as, or to share the URL as well as to consume the URL, right? That I'll show you in the video. And at the end of this video, I'll also tell you how I, as a user of this app, not as the developer, but as a user of this app, I'll store the password in such a way that even if the worst case hack happens or database compromise happens, my password will always remain safe with me, right? So if you want to know about this little secret, you have to watch till the end of this video, and the source code link will be available in the description box below. If you want the source code, you can check that link out. And what is the tech stack we are going to use? It is Node.js, Express and MongoDB. So I have already made a video about how to write controllers, how to write middlewares, how to work with Mongos and MongoDB, right? So if you want, you can check that playlist. I'll give the link in the description. In this video, I'll go a little fast paced, and I'm not going to explain what is a middleware or how to configure a route. I'll just do the configuration. The main intention is the security part, right? How we are going to generate the validation and the tokens, and how we are going to store the data in the database, right? So main focus is that part, right? And I have kept all my mistakes in this video. I will not edit that out, so that you will also learn how I debug when I make mistakes. Okay, so let me give you a quick demo, right? So there is a post request that I'm making here, and I'm saying the secret, this is the password that I want to store and share ultimately, and max views, right? So only 2 times this password can be viewed. So I'll click on send. So it will generate a URL and a code with me. So this code is interesting. We'll check what is this code in the video. But here is the URL. So this is the shareable URL. So this is the URL that you want to share with the other person with whom you want to share the password. So what we will do, we will click on this one. So if you see, this is a get request, and if you see, it has some kind of key, and there is a token, and there is some kind of token added here. That of course we'll see what is this in the video, right? So if I send this request, we'll get the secret, right? What is this secret? The one that we added here, and how we are getting through this URL, right? And if I try to send it again, I'll get this data again, right? Why? Because I'm saying max views as 2, right? Then what will happen if I try to access it once again, right? Your secret has expired, right? Why expired? Because I have set it max view as 2, right? Then what if I do multiple requests like this? I'm clicking, right? So what it is saying, too many requests, please try after some time, right? Why it is giving this? Because I have added a rate limiter. What will rate limiter do? It will prevent a brute force attack. So somebody will keep on trying, right? So that is called as a brute force attack. And if I do not stop that one, even if the password is expired, internal validation might be happening, right? So which will lead to denial of service attack. So to prevent that, I am rate limiting. It will not even go to the database, or it will not even check if the password exists or not, if it is valid or not, if it is expired or not. It will simply throw you out. Okay, so this will prevent denial of service attack. So this is a small application. We are going to learn a lot of security fundamentals: encryption, hashing, token generation, right? Rate limiting, of course, right? So this is going to be an interesting project. And if you find this interesting, do give it a like, subscribe to the channel, because I keep making this kind of video. So let's go to the code editor and start building the app. So here what I have done, I have created a folder called as logbox, just a fancy name that I have given, right? And I have opened it in VS Code, right? Feel free to whatever code editor that you are comfortable with, right? So here what I will do, first initialize this as a npm project. So for that, what I will do, npm init, and I'll keep all the question answered as y, the default value, right? So it will create a package JSON for me, right? Then what I will do, I'll install some dependency. So npm install, okay, first Express, right? We are going to use Express to build the API, then mongoose, and then .env, so that I can read the .env file, right? So I'll install this many dependencies for now. We'll add more dependencies later. So if you see, this package.json is created for me, right? And these packages are added, and here I will add a dev script. For the purpose of this video, I'll only add a dev script. In real world, we'll add multiple scripts, right, to test and to run and to debug, right? For our purpose, I'll just have the dev script. So what this will do, this will run nodemon, okay, and what this will run, it will run a file in src and index.js, right? And here I'll add one key value pair, that is type, okay, and I'll call it as the module type. Okay, so what this will do, I'm not going to use the require syntax, I'm going to use the import syntax, right? So this type module will do that for me. So with this, I'll not get any compilation error. Okay, then what I will do, I'll create a folder, I'll call it as src, and here what I will do, I'll create a file and I'll call it as index.js, and here I will say console.log, just a hello. Okay, and here what I will do, I will run npm run dev. Okay, so I'm getting hello. Okay, then let us start setting up our Express. So I will say import Express from Express, right? And const app equals to Express. Then what I will do, I'll create a immediately invoked function block. Okay, so here I don't want to use a main function, right? I want to just have a block that will invoke itself, right? So create a self-invoking block, and here I will add a function, right? And this I'm going to mark it as async. Then here what I will do, I will say app.listen, okay, and where it will listen, so I'll create a port, right? So const port, and from where I will get the port, I'll get the port from process.env.port, and in order to be able to read the process.env, we'll make use of the .env npm package. So I'll say import .env from .env and .env.config. Then what I will do, I will create a .env file in the root of the project. So .env, and here I will add port as 8000, then app.listen where on the port, and it will have a callback. So what this callback will do, it will do console.log and it will say server started on port colon, then I will add the port. So if you see here, it is giving server started on port undefined, right? So what I will do, I'll come to this env and this file is not saved, right? So I'll save this one and I will come here and I'll kill the nodemon process and we'll start again, right? So npm run dev. So it is now saying server started on port 8000, right? Now in the same line, let us do the MongoDB configuration also. So I'll add Mongo URI and what I will do. So a MongoDB local instance is running in my system, right? So if you want, you can do that, or if you want, you can run it through a Docker, or if you want, you can get a shared cloud hosting also, right? So there are many choices. You can pick whichever is convenient to you. For me, the MongoDB is running in my local system itself, right? So for this, what I will do, I will quickly configure the Mongo URI for this one. So MongoD // localhost port and the database name, right? So I will save this one. Then I will come to the import and I will import mongoose from mongoose, right? And here after this, here what I will do, I will say await mongoose.connect. Okay, connect where? Connect to process.env dot. I will quickly copy it from here. So Mongo URI, right? And after the connection is done, I will say console.log. Okay, then successfully connect to the DB message, right? So if you see, successfully connected to the DB and server started on port. Now what I want to do is to wrap it inside a try catch block, right? So that if any exception happens during the connection, we will be able to catch it, and then what we can do, we can kill the process, right? So here I will take all of this, cut it and put it in the try block, and in the catch block I can say console.log could not start the server, and we will say error.message, right? So if any error happens, it will log, and what this will do, it will process.exit with a non-zero code, right? So I will save this one, and so if you see here, successfully connected to the DB and server started on port 8000, right? Now this being done, what we will do, we will add a ping path, right? So this is a common convention. So what I will say, app.use, okay, and I'll create a /ping route, okay, and here what I will do, I will say request comma response, okay, and an arrow function, right? Then what this will do, this will say response dot status 200, of course, and the value that it will send is pong, okay? So ping and pong. So just a convention, just to see whether our API and all configuration are proper or not, right? So I will save this one, and what I will do, I'll open Postman and I'll delete, I remove all of this, the demo part, and I'll come to the ping this ping path, and I will send the request, so I will get pong, right? So the basic Express configuration is proper. Then what I will do here, let me add the JSON middleware, right? So app.use and express.json, so that we can read the body element, right? Then here what I will do, I will create a controller.js, right? Now here I am not creating different folders for controller and different folder for service or different folder for schema, right? Because everything is going to be one only, right? One schema, one controller, one service, right? So there is no need here for me to put it in different folders, right? But if you are building bigger app, it's a good idea to put everything in its distinct folders, right? So here I'll create a basic controller. So I will say import express from express, right? And const router equals to express dot router, okay? Then export default router, right? So I have some reference here that I will be checking, right? So what I will do, I will say router dot get, right? And router dot post, right? So we have only get and post. There is no need for put or delete, right? Because we are going to set the password from the post request, and we are going to get the password from the get request, right? So what this will do, this will take a path, right? So on the root path, that means I will attach it to the route, to the index on /secret, right? But the individual get and post are on the root itself, right? So here what I will say, request and response, and I will copy this line, okay, and I will add it here. And here what I can say, for now let me just say response dot status 200 and JSON, okay, and I will say message, and I will say getting secret, right? And here also what I can do, I will copy this line, and here I will say setting the secret, right? Then this router, what I will do, I will import it in the index.js. So I will say import, I will say secret router from ./controller.js, okay, and I will say app.use on path secret, okay. What we have to use, we have to use the secret router, right, and semicolon, and I will save it. Right now what I will do, I will bring the postman, and if I come to set password, what it will give me, right, setting secret, and here I have a get password. So what this will do, so this will not give me anything, right? Okay, why? Because here I am sending a parameter key, right? So for now I'll remove the parameter key. We'll see how we are going to set that one later in the video. So I'll send this one, so we'll get getting secret, right? So the basic configuration is done. Now this controller, this CRUD method that has request and response, I want to move it to the service layer, right? So what I will do, new file, and I will say service.js, because in the service layer I want to implement all the business logic, right? I don't want to implement the business logic on the controller side, right? So controller side, what it will do, authentication, authorization, of course we don't have it here, but that is the purpose of the controller, right? Rate limiting, right, that we will add it in the controller, right? So we'll offload the business logic to the service layer, right? So here what I will say, export const create secret equals to, okay, request and response, and what I will do, I will bring this line from the post, okay, I'll cut it and paste it here, right? Then export const, I will say get secret, okay, equals to request and response, and what line I will borrow, I'll cut it from here and I will paste it, right? I'll save the controller, and here I will import the controller, right? So import something from ./service.js, right? And I'll come to the curly braces and control spacebar, so it will give me the suggestion, so create secret and get secret, right? Then I will remove this line and I will say get secret, and here also I'll remove this line and I will say create secret, right? So this will offload it to the service layer. So let us quickly test this one if everything is working. So I will send the get request, so getting secret, and the set secret, right, the post message. So this is also setting the secret. So the configuration is working fine till now. Great. Now what we will work on next, let us create the mongoose schema, right? So here I will come and create a file called as schema.js, right? Then as always import mongoose from mongoose, right? Then const secret schema equals to new mongoose dot schema, okay, and then we'll pass an object. So what will be the value in this object? So first is the secret itself, right? So secret, and what will be the type of this one? Type of this one will be string. And is this going to be a required field? Yes, it is going to be a required field. So I'll say required as true. Okay. Then what else we need? We need to store the max view, right? So max view, and this is going to be of type number, right? And I'll add default value, right? So default value is always 1. So by default max view is only 1. So that is a business decision, right? If you want, you can always change this value, right? Then we have to keep track of how many views already has happened for this particular secret, right? So I'll say view. So this will keep on updating every time a get request comes, right? So this is also going to be of type, okay, number, and what will be the default value? 0, right? So by default, when this document is created, it has not been viewed even once, right? Then we will add a field called as created at, right? Now what this will do? So it will default to now, date time dot now, right? So let me add that one, then I'll explain. So type will be date, okay, and default will be date dot now. That means the instance the document is created, the created at will have that particular timestamp, right? Now what are we going to use this for? So storing secret is sensitive information, right? And we don't want to store it for very long. So we want to store it for say 1 day or 1 hour only, right? So this created at will help us in determining when the password was created and at what time it should be deleted, right? Now, interesting one. The MongoDB provide a index called as TTL index, that is time to live. So if we enable that one and give it a timestamp and give it a duration, after that duration has been completed, the MongoDB engine will automatically delete the document for us, right? So let me show you what I mean by that. So I will say secret schema dot index, okay, then this will take 2 parameter. One is the created at field, okay, and I'll set this value to 1. That means what I'm saying, consider the created at field for this index, okay, and what this will do, this will take another object and it will say expire after seconds, right? So I'll say 3600. So I am creating an index. So this is basically a time to live index, and what I'm saying, based on this created at field, expire this document, this row, after 3600 seconds. That means after 1 hour, delete the password that was saved, right? And then what I will do, I will export default, right? Mongoose dot, I'll create the model out of this one. I will say secret, and what I will pass, I'll pass the secret schema, right? So the MongoDB schema part is also done, right? Now what we will do, we'll go to service, and here if you see the postman, right, when we are setting the password, what we are setting, we are setting secret and max view, right? So let us start writing the create secret method. So first thing that I want to read is the password, the secret, and the max view, right? So I will say secret and max view. This value I want to get it from the request.body, right? So this two value I'll get from the request.body, right? Now what I want to do, of course I want to save the value, right? And for this what I will do, I have to import the Mongoose schema, right? So I will say import, I'll say secret schema from dot slash schema dot js, right? And here what I want to do, I want to do secret schema dot create, okay. What it will create for me, this will create the document object, right? So this will basically store it in the database, right? So I will say secret and I will say max view. So this object will be saved, right? So two properties, right? Secret and max view. And what about the other two property? Secret and max view we are storing. View will automatically default to 0 and created at will automatically default to dot now, date dot now, right? And then what I will do, I'll store it in a variable, right? So const new secret equals to await, right? Secret schema dot create. And why it is giving squiggly? Because await can be used only in async function, right? So I will say async here. Now here comes the interesting question. What value we are going to return, right? Of course, we are not going to return this setting secret, right? We have to send a URL, right? So how to create that URL and what parameters will set it in the URL, right? So first let us create the URL that we will send, right? So I will say const URL equals to backticks, right? And here I will say dollar request dot protocol. So whether this is a HTTP or an HTTPS request, right? Then colon slash slash, right? Then what I will do, I have to get the host value, right? So what domain it has been hosted on. So how I will get that one? So request dot get host. So in my case, I'll get localhost, right? So if you host it in some service or if you give it a proper URL like something.com, right? So we'll get that host value here, right? Then slash secret, right? Because we want to send it to the secret path, right? So if you see the postman, this get request, right? This URL, what it will have? It will have the slash get slash secret, right? Then slash something, right? Now here comes the interesting part. What we will send here, right? See, one simple option is to send the new secret dot underscore ID, right? So what is this underscore ID? The mongoose schema ID, right? So if we have the ID, when this URL is hit, it will come to this get request, right? So we'll have this ID in the params and we can easily find the document that belongs to this ID, and then we can query the database and get the password and send it, right? This is the simplest approach, but is this the safest approach? No, right? Why? Because I am exposing internal implementation detail here, right? What is the internal implementation detail? This underscore ID. This underscore ID is internal implementation of the MongoDB. This I should not expose, right? Because anybody can now create this URL, right? There is no authenticity that this URL is generated by the backend, right? Somebody can try to do brute force, right? Somebody can try to create false URLs, right? So if I send internal implementation, this is a big security concern, right? So I should not be sending this ID, right? But I still need an identifier, right? Otherwise, how I will know what this secret belongs to, right? What object does this secret belong to, right? So that should be something that I should send, so that I can, when this get request comes, I should be able to trace it back, right? I should be able to query the database and get back this secret value, right? Get back the secret value, right? Okay. So what we will send? Okay. So let us think. Okay, so if it was a authentication system, okay, how I will store the password in the database? Of course, I'll store it as a hash, right? So what is a hash? Hash is a one-way function, right? What do I mean by one-way function? So from the password, I can create hash, but from the hash, I cannot create the password, right? So typical authentication system, what they will do when a user register, they will not store the data in the plain text, but they will store it as a hash, right? And when the user does a login with the username and password, with that password, they will try to create again the same hash, and they will compare the hash with the hash stored in the database. If both the hash will match, then only they will say, okay, this is a valid authentication, right? Now in our case, can we store the password in hash format? No, right? Because we have to ultimately get back to the original password. So if I store it in the hash format, I cannot get the original password, right? But what if I send the hash password here, right? So if I generate the hash of the password somehow, right? We'll see how there are different algorithms. So if I send the hash of this password, of course, they cannot get the password from the hash because it's a one-way function, right? So this is one property that we can send, right? So a hash, okay, we can send a password hash. Now, when the request comes in this get secret method, we will get the hash, right? Now, I said hash is a one-way function, right? So if we only have the hash, we cannot recover the password from this one, right? So along with this hash, we should be able to send some more information, right? Say for example, ID, right? So if I have this ID here in this secret, I'll be able to trace back the password, right? But I said anyways we are not going to send the ID here, right? Why? Because again this is the internal implementation detail, right? So I have to send the ID in a secret manner, right? So what option I have? Let us use JWT token, right? So what we will do, we'll create a JWT token out of the ID, and also we'll store the hash here. Okay, so what I will do here, I will generate a hash, then what I will do, I will create a JWT token using the underscore ID plus the hash, right? And this two token, that is the hash, and this token that I can send as part of the URL, right? Then what will happen when the get request comes, I can decode the JWT token, and from there I can get the hash, and from there I can get the hash as well as the ID. So first thing I can do comparison. So the first comparison that I can do is this hash and this hash should be same. That means neither this hash has been tampered, neither this JWT token has been faked, right? So unless both of these matches, then only I will say okay, it is a valid request, right? That's why I'm sending hash as well as the JWT token, right? So if any of this has been forged, it will immediately throw out the exception, right? So this has to be genuine and this has to be genuine, right? And it is only possible if we are sending it from our backend, right? So if somebody is trying to forge a hash, they will not be able to generate the JWT token equivalent to that hash, right? So it will also have the ID, right? And one more thing, in order to generate the hash, what we need the password or the secret, right? And we will add a salt. What is this salt? Salt is just a random number, right? Or it's just a random character, right? So why do we need a salt? See, two people can have the same password, right? And with the same algorithm, ultimately without salt, the same password will result in same hash, right? Now why this is a problem? There are certain techniques called as rainbow table attacks in which attackers have list of passwords and their equivalent hash, right? So if I do not add a random salt, the attacker might have a list of password, and if this password is a common password, right, it will immediately match, because so with the same password and same algorithm, it will always generate the same hash, right? And this is risky one. But if I add a random salt, the rainbow table attack will never succeed, because for the same password with random salt, it will never generate the same hash, right? So that is the concept of a salt. Sometimes it is also called as initialization vector, right? So password plus salt will generate the hash, right? So now when creating the JWT token, I have to also send the salt, right? So that I can recreate the hash using the salt and the password from this ID, and then I will say if it matches with this hash as well as it matches with this hash, right? So I know that might be a little confusing. Okay, so I'll reiterate. What we will do, we will generate a hash using a password and a salt. Okay, and we will generate a JWT token using the underscore ID from the database, the hash that we have created as well as the salt, right? Then what we will do, when the request comes, we will have this hash, then we will do the JWT token decode, right? So what we will get, we'll get the ID, we will get the hash, and we will get the salt. So first comparison, what we can do, we can compare this hash with the JWT hash token, right? So that will guarantee that neither the hash has been forged, neither the JWT token has been forged, right? So this hash and this hash we can compare, right? Then what we can do, we have the salt and we have the ID. So what we can do, with this ID we can query the database and get the secret. With that secret and this salt, we will recreate the hash and compare it with this hash or either this hash, right? So if by any chance both of them have been forged, we will try to recreate the secret, recreate the hash using our ID and our salt, and then again compare that hash with the hash that we are getting from the URL, right? And if that comparison also fails, then we are going to deny the request, right? So we have 3 layers of validation here, right? So let us quickly implement this feature. So first let me write some helper methods. Okay, so what I will do, I will add a new file and I will call it as helper.js. okay, then so first I will write the JWT token logic, right? So I will say import JWT from JSON web token, and let me quickly install the JWT token. So I will kill the server and I will say npm install JSON web token, right? Now once that is installed, what I can do, I will say export const, okay, generate token. Okay, so what this token parameter it will take a payload object, right? So this will have the underscore ID and the salt and whatever we want to generate the token out of, right? Then so what I will do, first what I have to do, I have to create a JWT secret in the env file, right? So let me quickly add that one. So here what I will do, I will say JWT secret key equals to a very large and random key, right? Then I'll come here and I will say const JWT equals to process.env.jwt secret key, right? Then what I will do, I'll return jwt.sign, okay, sign what? Sign the payload with what? The JWT secret key, okay. And what this will take, this will take a configuration object, and in which I can say expires in I'll say 1 hour, right? I'll say 1 hour like this, right? So anyways, we have a TTL index in our database, so it will delete the entry within 1 hour. So I'll keep the same configuration here. So after 1 hour, anyways, this JWT token that we are generating, that will also become invalid, right? So no point in keeping it beyond that part. Then what I can do, I can write a function to verify the token. So I'll say export const verify token, okay, and this will take a token as the input. And what we can do, we can take this secret again, right? And I will say return jwt dot verify, okay, verify what? The token, and with respect to what? The JWT secret key, right? So simple JWT token, right? And let me run the server also, right? So npm run dev, if any error happens, we'll be able to catch it, right? Then let us write the algorithm to generate the hash, okay? And for this, what we are going to use, we are going to use SHA-256 algorithm, right? So that is a hashing algorithm, SHA-256. So let me first create few constants, right, that we are going to use in both the hashing and when we are going to verify the hash, right? So I'll say const iterations equals to 1000, right? So how many iterations it will do to generate the hash, right? Then const key length, okay, so what will be the key length of the output, right? So I'll say 64. And then const digest, that is the what algorithm that we are going to use. So we are going to use SHA-256, right? So this is the digest, okay. Then I will say export const generate hash, okay, and of course this is going to be a async function, and it will take the text or the plain text, right? In this case the secret, right? Then const salt, so we'll generate a random salt, right? So how can I generate the random salt? I can use the crypto library, okay. So it is inbuilt in Node.js, so I'll say import crypto from crypto, okay. So what I will do, crypto dot random bytes, 16 random bytes, okay, and to string, and I will pass the hexadecimal encoding, right? So this will generate a salt for me. Then what I can say, const hashed secret, okay, equals to await new promise, okay, and what it will it will of course take the resolve and reject. So resolve and reject. Then what I will add here, so I will say crypto dot, okay, so this is the function name pbkdf2, right, and this will take some value. So first value it will take is the text, then second it will take the salt, third it will take the iterations, then key length, then the digest, right, and the callback function, first it will be the error object and the next one will be the key, that the hashed key, right. So I'll say derived key, okay. Then if there is some error, okay, what we can do, we can reject with the error message. If this is not the case, we can resolve, okay, resolve. What we will resolve, we will resolve the derived key and convert it to string and in the hex format, right. So this derived key will be stored as hashed secret, right. Then I will return, what I have to return, I have to return the salt, right. So this is important. And what else I have to return, I have to return the hash which has the hashed secret value, right. So this generate hash will return the salt as well as the hash key, right, hash key of this plain text, right. Then can I write the verify hash function? So I will say export, okay, const verify hash secret, okay, and what this will take, this will take the secret as well as the hash secret, right, and the salt. So what this will do, this will automatically generate another hash from the salt and from the secret, and it will do the comparison, right, and it should be a async function. So I will mark it as async. Then what we will do, const hash secret regenerated, right. So we'll regenerate it. So we will regenerate it, right, equals to await new promise, okay, this will take resolve, okay, so this will take resolve and reject, okay. Then we are going to use the same algorithm, right, so crypto dot pbkdf2, right. Then what we will pass, we will pass the secret, we will pass the salt, essentially we will do the same thing here, right. So I'll borrow that line and paste it here, right. Then what we will do, we will return, okay, what we will return, and here we have used the text keyword, but here instead we'll use this secret, right. So we called it text, so we are passing text, here we are getting it as secret, so we will pass it as secret, right. Then we will return hash secret regenerated equals to the hash secret, right. So if these two match, that means the hash is proper, right. So we'll create this many helper functions for now. Let us go to service. Okay, so we have the URL here. So first what we will do, we'll generate the hash here. So I will say const, okay, salt and hash equals to, let us do the import, okay. So import something from ./helper.js, right, and I will control space generate hash, right, then verify hash, then generate token, then verify token, right. So what I will do, I will put everything in new line so that it will look clean, okay. Then what we will do, we will say await, okay, what, generate hash, right, generate hash of what, generate hash of the secret, right. So for this secret we will get the salt and the hash, right. Then I will say const token equals to await generate token, right, and it will take a payload, right. So what we will pass in the payload, so we will pass underscore id, and from where we will get this value, we will get this value from new secret dot underscore id, right, and what else we will pass, we will pass the salt as well as the hash, right, so that when we decode this token, right, we will have the id, we will have the salt, and we will have the hash. So we have this hash, we have this hash from the secret, so we can compare that. So if nothing has been tampered, this will match, otherwise if it doesn't match, one of them has been forged, right. And if we have this ID, with this ID we can query the database, get the secret. With this salt we'll generate the hash again and again compare all three, right? If all three matches, that means everything is genuine, nothing has been forged, right? So we have the token as well, right? So here I'll pass the hash and I will say token equals to the token, right? Then we are passing secret slash hash, right? So I'll come to my controller and I will say colon hash, right? So that I can read this hash from the request params, right? Then service. So here this is complete. So we have the URL, right? So I will send the URL here, right? So let us go to Postman and see if everything is working great. So we have the URL, right? So here secret, and this is the hash till here, right? And after that we have token, right? So it is opening in the new tab. So when we click, so this is the token from here till this last one, right? So this is the token. Now let us read it in the get request. So how we can read this one? So const hash equals to request dot params, and we have to destructure it, and it is not hashed hash, right? Then I will say token equals to request dot query. So I'm getting the hash and I'm getting the token, right? Now what we are going to do with this one? So we have a hash, we have a token, right? So first let us decode the token and get all the individual value, right? And even before doing that, let us check if the token exists or not, right? So if not token, okay, if somebody is not even sending the token, what we can do? We can return a error message, right? So 400 status and invalid URL, right? So passing token is mandatory here. Then what else we can do? Let us do the token verification, right? So we'll say verify token, okay, and we'll pass the token from here, right? And what this token will return? This will return something, right? So we'll destructure. So what this will return? Whatever we are encoding, it will return that, right? So ID, salt and hash. So I can destructure that one. So I will say underscore ID, salt and hash, right? And if you see, it is giving squiggly because hash is defined twice. So I will rename it as decoded hash, right? Then first validation, what we have to do? We have to make sure that this decoded hash is same as the hash that is coming from the params, right? So what I can say? I can say if, okay, decoded hash not equals to hash, we will throw error, right? And what error we will throw? Let us throw this error invalid URL, right? So now let us quickly verify. So I'll send a request, right? And I'll click on this one, and what I will do, I will try to modify the hash or try to tamper with this hash, right? So I'll remove few characters and I will send the request, right? It immediately said invalid URL, right? Because this hash, right, and the hash that is available inside the token that we decoded did not match, right? Because we tampered with this one, right? So it said invalid URL, right? So this part is working, right? Then next, what we can do? We have this ID, right? Now using this ID, let us query the database and get the secret, right? So here I can say const secret document equals to await, then secret schema dot find by ID, and we'll pass the underscore ID, right? And it is giving squiggly on await because this is not a async function, so I'll mark it as async. Then this secret document has the document, right? The MongoDB document, right? Now we'll do a validation. If this document doesn't exist, right? If it has been already deleted, right? So if not secret document, what we can do? Either we can say invalid URL or the password has expired, right? So I'll say your password has already expired, right? So this is a validation, right? The URL somebody might be using, so say 2 attempt, right? So when creating the password, it was configured as max views as 2, right? So somebody is attempting third time. That means the hash is still valid, the token is still valid, but the password has been removed, right? So it will fall into this if condition and it will say secret has expired, right? So we have the secret object here, the secret document here, right? So let us do a validation whether the hash that we have here, right, this decoded hash or this hash that we are getting from the params is correct or not. How we will check? We will recreate the hash using this document, right? This document has the secret, right? So we'll try to recreate the hash. So const is valid hash, right, equals to await verify hash secret, right? Which secret? So secret document dot secret. What else it will take? It will take the hash, right, and it will take the salt, right? So this verify hash, right? So what this is taking? This is taking the secret, this is the hashed secret as well as the salt, right? So this will tell me if this secret document will generate this hash out of this salt, right? So is valid hash, okay? So if this is valid, then only we will proceed further, right? If this is not valid, then what we can do? And not is valid hash, then also it will fall into the same invalid URL, right? So something has been tampered, right? Because it did not match with the hash that we created from the database object, right? So let us check the flow again here. So we are getting the hash as well as the token from the URL. Then we are checking if the token exists or not, right? If the token doesn't exist, error out. Then what we are doing? We are doing verify token. So if the token is valid, it will return me the ID, hash and salt. Why this will return? Because I used this ID, okay, and hash and this salt to generate the token. So when I verify the token or when I decode the token, I'll get the same object back, right? So ID, salt and hash, right? So I'll get ID, salt and hash, okay? Now with this ID that I'm getting from the decoded token, I'll find the secret document from the MongoDB. If it doesn't exist, error out, right? Then I'll check is valid hash and I'll compare this secret hash with the hash that I have received from the params. So what this will do? This will basically recreate the hash with this salt and compare with this hash and check the integrity. If this hash has been forged or not, right? Because if this is forged, when I try to create again the hash from the genuine secret stored from the database, it will not match, right? And if it matches, that means it is correct with using the same salt, right? So is valid. And what else we are verifying here? We are verifying this hash that we are getting from the parameter versus the one that we decoded from the token, right? So that means neither the token has been forged, neither the hash has been forged, and when we recreate the hash from the document that we are querying, we are able to generate the same hash. If not, then something is fishy. The decoded hash should match with the hash and it should be a valid hash, right? Then only we will pass. If anything fails, any validation fails, we will error out, right? Now till this part, this is done. Now that means if this if condition, it doesn't fall into this if condition, that means everything is correct, right? Now what we can do? The view counter we have to check, right? So if secret document dot view is greater than equals to secret document dot max view, right? If it is equal to or if it is greater than that one, right? So what we can say? Your password has expired, right? So we will add it here, right? And at one point it will become equal to, right? So when it becomes equals to, what we have to do? We have to delete the password, right? So I will say await secret document dot delete one, okay, and I will pass the underscore ID, right? So that it will delete the password after the view limit has reached, right? Then every time a view happens, what we have to do? We have to do secret document dot view plus equals to 1 and secret document dot save, right? This we have to do every time a view happens. We have to increment the view counter, right? Then what we can do, we can response dot status, okay, we will send 200 and JSON, and we can say secret is your secret document dot secret, right? So let us run this one and see if we are getting any error or anything, right? So what we will do, we will close this one, don't save, okay. I will send the request, okay, open this here and I will send the request. So we are getting invalid URL, right? So this is not the correct logic, right? So let us check what we have done. So it is giving invalid URL, right? So we have one invalid URL here and one invalid URL here, right? So first let us check which invalid URL it is sitting. So I will say 1 and I will say 2, okay. Then I will send the request and it is saying invalid URL 2, right? So it is falling somewhere here, right? So let me do console.log is valid hash, right? So let us see what its value is, right? So I'll send the request and so is valid hash is false, right? So it is saying this is not a valid hash, right? So the problem is here, right? So let us check what is happening here, right? So let me do console.log, okay, secret document dot secret, and let me log the hash as well, right? Okay, let me first log the secret document only, okay. I will send and it is giving me the secret document, right? And let me log the hash as well, right? So console.log hash, okay. Okay, so hash is coming as undefined, right? So hash is coming as undefined, okay. So let us check why it is coming as undefined. Request.params. So let me go to controller and if you see I have a typing error here, right? So it should be hash, right? So that's why the params, it was not working, right? So now if I send the request, right? See, and now I'm getting the password, right? So silly typing error, right? That happens. So I'll come here and remove this console logs, okay, and I will convert this to URL1 back to the URL, normal URL, right? This 1 2 I'll remove, right? Then what I will do, I will come here and I will send it again. So it said your secret has expired, right? So max view is 2, so I'll send another request, okay, and I will remove this one, don't save changes, and I will click on this one. So I'll send it once, so I'll get the password, I'll send it again, your secret has expired. So it should give me one more time, right? So it is giving only once. So let us check that logic also, why it is failing. So if you see the schema, it is view, so it should be only greater than, right? Not greater than equal to. So only when your view counter is more than max views, then only we will delete this one, right? So let us test this logic. So I will close this one, don't save, right? I'll come to set password, I'll create a new URL, I'll click on this one, right? And I will send the request once, I'll send the request again, so I got it again, now I'll send it. So now your secret has expired, right? So let us try it again. So I'll send the request again, so I'll get another URL, so I'll click on this one, right? So I'll send it once, so I got the secret, I'll send it again, I got the secret, then I'll send it again, now secret has expired, right? So now this logic is working great. So now we have some validation with which we can say this is a genuine request and we can send the password, right? Great. So far we have completed big chunk of our feature. Now let us move to the next feature, that is encryption, okay. So if you see the MongoDB compass, okay, this is where we can see the database entries, right? So if you see here, the database, it is stored in plain text, right? Now is this safe? No, right? Because what if the database is compromised, right? So all the password will be immediately visible to the attacker, right? So what we should do in this case? See, if it is a normal authentication system, the passwords are usually stored in hash, okay, but hash is a one-way function. So when authentication is done, the user will send the password along with the username. So they will recreate the hash and match it with the hash stored in the database, right? So if that matches, it is a valid login, right? But this same logic we cannot add here, because as I said, hash is a one-way function and we need the plain text password ultimately to send to the user, right? Whoever is hitting the URL, right? So here we don't have the option of hashing. Hashing we have already done to create the URL, right? So here what we are going to use? We are going to use encryption, because encryption is two-way function. It needs a key, and with that key we can encrypt the data, and when we need we can decrypt the data, right? So let us not store password like this. Okay, let me delete this one. Okay, and let us go to our code and start implementing encryption. So I'll come to the helper file. Okay, and here we are going to use the crypto module from Node.js, right? So we don't have to install any other library. Here what I will do, I will check if the crypto is imported or not, right? So it is already imported. Then what I will do, I will create a encryption function. So I will say export const, it will take a plain text value, right? And we will create the function body. Okay, and here first what we need to do, we need to create a initialization vector. Okay, so I will say const iv equals to crypto dot random bytes of say 16. Okay, so this is just a randomization, right? So that with the same algorithm and the same password we don't end up with the same encryption text, right? Again, then we'll have the rainbow table attacks possibility, right? So I have created a initialization vector. Okay, then I need a encryption key, right? So what I will do, I'll quickly add an encryption key. So if you see here, AES secret key, and there is a secret key given here, right? So this is the server side secret with which we can encrypt and decrypt the or the plain text or the encrypted text, right? Then I'll come to helper, and then first what I'll do, I'll read this encryption key. Okay, so I'll say const encryption key equals to, then what I have to do, I have to create a cipher. So I'll say const cipher equals to crypto dot create cipher iv. Okay, so this will basically create the cipher text. Okay, so it will take a encryption algorithm. Okay, so I am going to say AES, okay, 256, okay, CBC. Okay, so this is the encryption algorithm that I am going to use. Okay, then I have to pass the encryption key, but I have to pass it as buffer, right? So buffer dot from, okay, encryption key, and this will go in hex format. Okay, and this will also take the initialization vector, right? Then we will create the encrypted text. Okay, encrypted text equals to cipher dot update. Okay, update what? The text. Okay, this text is available in UTF-8. Okay, and what else it will take? The output format. Okay, so it will output in the hex format. Okay, then we will add a final statement, like we don't want to do any more encryption, give us the final key. Okay, so I will say encrypted text equals to cipher dot final. Okay, these are the steps, okay, that we have to follow in hex format. Okay, and return. So what I'll return, I need the initialization vector as well as the encrypted text, right? Otherwise I cannot decode without the initialization vector. Also we need the AES encryption key, but anyways that we have in the environment variable. But here I need both initialization vector as well as the encrypted text. Then only I can decrypt this one, right? So can I do like this? So I'll say iv, okay, colon, then encrypted text. Okay, so I'll store, ultimately this value will go to the database, right? So I'll store it with a colon separation. So when I do the decryption, I'll split it with colon, then I'll get initialization vector and the encrypted text, right? Okay, so this encryption part is done, and let us quickly do the decryption. Okay, so export const decrypt. Okay, and what value this will take? This will take the encrypted text. Then see, this encrypted text is in which format? Colon format, right? So first what I need to do, I need to split it. Okay, so what I can say, const iv comma ciphertext equals to encrypted text dot split with space, right? Then what I need the encryption key, right? So I'll take the encryption key and add it here, right? Then here I'm creating a cipher. So similarly I can create a decipher, right? So I can say const decipher equals to, I can say crypto dot create decipher iv. Okay, and this will take the same algorithm, right? If we use a different algorithm to do the decryption, of course it will fail, right? We don't want to do that, right? So encryption, then it will take the encryption, then it will take the encryption key, right? So we can say buffer dot from, okay, encryption key, and this will go in the hex format, right? And what else we have to pass? The initialization vector, that also we need, that also will go as hex format in buffer, right? So buffer dot from, okay, iv, and this will go in hex format, right? Some of the steps might look complicated, right? But these are the steps that we have to follow to create the encryption and decryption, right? And if you are confused, you can always check the source code, link will be given in the description, right? Then we have the decipher, right? Then what we were doing here, we are creating cipher and we are passing the UTF-8 and getting hex, right? Now I can say let decrypted text equals to decipher dot update, okay, update what, update the cipher text, okay, and in what format it is in hex format, and in what format we want this in UTF-8 format, okay. Then what we have to do, we have to do decrypted text plus equals to decipher dot final, right? And it will be UTF-8 format. And one thing I noticed here it should be encrypted text plus equals to, okay. Then what we will do, we will return the decrypted text, okay. So this part is done. If there are any errors, we will check, okay. Once we start testing the application, we will check that one, right? So here first what I will do, I will bring it, okay. So I will say encrypt and decrypt, right? Okay, now where I will use the encrypt, here when I'm creating, okay, that is when I'm inserting into the database, I can say secret equals to encrypt, okay, encrypt what, encrypt the secret, okay. Then in get secret, okay, what we are doing, we are finding the secret document, right? And if secret document is not found, we are throwing error, right? And where we are using the secret, here we are using the secret. Now this secret is not plain text anymore, right? So this is the encrypted secret. So what I can do, I can say const plain text secret equals to decrypt, okay, decrypt what, decrypt secret document dot secret, and this plain text I will pass it here for the hash validation, okay. And one more thing I noticed, this logic is not correct, right? So here we are comparing all the three hashes, right? So decoded hash and is this a valid hash, right? It should not be AND logic, it should be OR logic, okay. If any one of the hash validation fails, we should return error, right? It's not that both are going to fail. Even if one is going to fail, we will return it, right? So it should be a OR logic, okay. Then this plain text, where we will return here in response.status, it will no longer be secret document.secret, it will rather be the plain text, right? Let us save this one and do a round of testing and see what happens, right? So here password, okay. So I will send the request, okay. So our request was sent, right? Then let us open MongoDB Compass, okay, and let me do a refresh. And if you see, there are some diamond characters, right? So this is unsupported encoding, right? So something is not proper, okay. Let me check while typing what mistake I have done, okay. Okay, I got it, right? So what is the problem? this IV, okay, this IV, if you see the return type of this random byte, what it is, if you see, this is buffer, right? So it is storing data in the buffer format. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to say to string, okay, and we have to say hex, right? So that is hexadecimal, and we have to say hex, right? So what we will do, I will come to the database and delete this entry, okay, and what I will do, I will send one more request. Okay, so I have sent another request. Then let me check in the MongoDB, right? So now if you see, everything is looking normal. Okay, so this is the IV and this is the encrypted text, right? So now we are not storing password in the plain text, everything is encrypted, right? Then let us do decryption. That means if we are getting the data from this link, so I'll click on this one and I will send it, right? So I get the secret password, right? So both encryption and decryption is working perfectly fine, right? Now let us add one more small functionality. Okay, so this is a URL, right? So this is just a user convenience functionality. Okay, I found it interesting, so I'm sharing it with you, right? Can we generate a QR code out of this? Yes, we can generate a QR code out of this, and let us do that. Okay, so for that I'll open my text editor, and it is actually very simple. So what I will do, I'll kill the server. Okay, and what I will do, I'll say npm install, and I will say QR code. Okay, and since we are installing, let me install couple of more things. One is the express rate limiter, limit, and express validator. We are going to use it later. Okay, so let me quickly install this one. Okay, now these are installed. So if we see the package.json, QR code and rate limit and validator is installed. Okay, let us go to service. Okay, and what I can do, I can say import, okay, import QR code from QR code. Okay, then so here I'm sending the URL, right? So I already have a URL from here. Then what I can do, then I can say const QR code equals to QR code dot to data URL. Okay, and what value I will pass, I'll pass the URL, right? And what I can do, I can say code as your QR code. Okay, then let us quickly start the server. Okay, then I will come to Postman, and what I will do, I will create a new secret. Okay, and if you see, it is coming as empty. Okay, why? Because here I am forgetting await. Okay, so this is a asynchronous function, and how you will know this is a asynchronous function? So if you see, it returns promise of string. Okay, so I have to await. Okay, then what I will do, I will come and create one more request. Okay, now I am getting the code, but this doesn't look like a QR code, right? Does it? But if you see, it's a image. Okay, and it is base 64 encoding, right? Okay, this doesn't look like a QR code, right? But this is an image file, right? So what we have to do with this one? Okay, so as such, this is pure backend code, right? So this will be in base 64 encryption. But what you can do is, when you are working on the front end, you can use a image tag to add this in the source element. Okay, so let me quickly show you that one. Of course, I am showing it in plain HTML, but you can do the same in any modern front-end framework like React and Angular, right? So what I will do, I will create a file, and I will say QR code.html. Okay, and I'll quickly add the HTML markup. Okay, and from here, what I can do, let me put a div. Okay, and within this div, I'll say image. Okay, and you can add src equals to something, and we can add an alt. Okay, and I can say QR code. Okay, and in this src, what we have to add, we have to add this code. Okay, along with this data, image, and base 64, everything you have to include. Okay, so I am quickly copying it. I will copy and I will paste it here. Okay, then I will save this one, and then what I can do, I can say reveal in file explorer. Okay, so this will open the file explorer. Then what I can do, I can say open with whatever your favorite browser, right? So here, if you see, we are getting a QR code, right? So when you scan this one, right, in your camera application, it will give you the QR link and it will open the URL, right? So this is a small but interesting feature that I thought we should implement, just user convenience, right? This has nothing to do with the security or any compulsory feature, just user convenience, right? And also we learned how we can generate QR code, right? Then let us quickly do two more things. One is the body validation and one is the rate limiting. Okay, so here what I will do, I'll add a new file called as middleware.js. Okay, then first what I can do, I can say import rate limit from express rate limit. Okay, then what I can do, export const limit equals to rate limit. Okay, and it will take an object. Okay, and the first one is window millisecond. So what is your windows in which you are doing the validation? Okay, so for example, I'll say 1 minute. Okay, so 60 second into 1000, that is millisecond. Okay, so this will take in millisecond as the name suggests, right? Window ms. So 1 minute. Okay, then how many attempts you want to allow within 1 minute? Okay, so for that I can say max, say 3. So in 1 minute you can do 3 attempts. Okay, then message, you can add a message. So I'll say too many requests, please try after some time. Okay, and don't say that you are only allowed to do 3 attempts in every 1 minute. Okay, don't give specific information, just say too many requests. Okay, then what I can do, so this is a middleware, right? So I will export it and import it in my controller. Okay, so import limit from middleware.js, and where I should use the limit, ideally in both place. Okay, but get is the more sensitive call here, because somebody will try to get the password, right? Not repeatedly set the password. Of course, crazy people can do anything, but here just for the demonstration I'm saying in get secret, somebody will definitely try to do brute force attack, right? This is more prone to brute force attack. So for this purpose of this video, I'll just add it in the get call. Okay, so limit. Okay, so I'll quickly save this one and then I'll test it. Okay, so I'll send the request again. So it says secret has expired. Okay, this is a known feature to us, right? So I'll send the request again. Okay, I'll send the request again. I'll send the request again, right? Too many requests, please try after some time, right? Now you cannot do brute force attack. Of course, the window and the number of attempts is configurable, and based on your business need you can do that, right? So let us add another middleware, that is your body validator. Okay, now if you see here in set password, we are saying max view is 2, right? What stops me or what stops someone from using 20,000? Nothing, right? It will work, and people will start using as a password manager, right? Not a temporary password storage. So that completely breaks the use case, right? So we should have some kind of validation, right? And here also somebody should not be able to add injection statement, right? Because this is what we are directly storing in the database, right? So for that, what we can do body validation using express body validator. Okay, so what we can do, let me quickly import that one. So import, okay, something from express validator. Okay, so there is a function called as body. Okay, so here what I can do, I can say like this. So validate secret. Okay, I'm doing body and this body secret and max view, right? So these two body element I'm validating. Okay, first is it should not be empty. If it is empty, I give this error message. Okay, this I have already shown in my Express course, right? If you want, you can check that. I'll give the link in the description, right? Then trim, then escape. Okay, so this will escape any malicious content, right? Any HTML, any SQL injection, it will escape it out. Okay, and then body. So this is important, min and max. Okay, so somebody can give minimum 1, they cannot give negative numbers, and maximum 5. Okay, not more than that. Of course, based on your business need, you can change this. Then there is a validate function. Okay, so this is just, I'll add it in the middleware. This will do the validation. Now to read the validation and to see if there are any error message, we have to add one more function. Okay, export const, I'll say validate result equals to, so this is a middleware function, right? So request, response, and next. Then I can say const errors equals to validation result. Okay, and from where validation result will come? Validation result will come from the express validator. Okay, so validation result. Okay, we'll just call the function, and it will take what? It will take the request object. Okay, then if errors dot error dot is empty. Okay, and if this is not empty, okay, if this is not empty, then what we can do? We can say return response dot status. What status we will send? We'll send 400. Okay, and in JSON what we can send? We can send errors equals to errors dot array. Okay, if this is not the case, what we have to do? We have to call the next function. Then okay, how we are going to use this one? So first here, what we have to add? We have to add this validation middleware. Okay, so it says validate secret. Okay, so I will say validate secret. Okay, so as soon as I add this middleware, it will do the validation, but it won't take any action. Okay, who will take the action? The other middleware. Okay, so this validate secret will just do the validation, and it will store everything in the request object. Okay, then when we attach this validate middleware, it will actually see if any validation error has been added in the validate request, in the request, and if there are errors, it will send us the errors. Okay, so I'll take this validate result and add it next. So validate result. Okay, so this is another middleware. Then I'll save this one. Then I'll come to postman. Okay, and I will say 9. Okay, then I will send the request, and it is saying maximum call stack size. Okay, why we are getting this error? So why we are getting this error? Because here I am using validate result, which is name of this function, right? So this has become a recursive call. Instead, what I should have used? I should have used the validation result. Okay, so I'll add validation result. Okay, let the server restart. Then what I will do? I'll come and send another request. So now if you see errors, okay, 9, max view must be an integer between 1 to 5, and where it is in max view and location body, right? So this way we can add validation. So it will immediately throw out the error. It will not even go to database for any validation, right? Because ultimately I don't want my app to be used as a password manager, right? Because somebody can easily say 90,000 and store their password forever, right? Of course, practically not possible, because we are anyways deleting because of the TTL index, right? But so we should always write our app with maximum security wherever possible, right? Okay, so now I was telling how I as a user of this application will use this to store password, right? So there is a saying that don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? That means don't store the full password here, right? So what you can do, you can omit last 2 characters, or instead you can mark it as ***, right? And this you can send. Now what will happen, even if the password is compromised, or even if the database, the app, everything is hacked, attackers will only get this much password, but this is not complete password, right? They still need the 2 characters. Now anyways, you are going to send the URL somehow to the person with whom you are going to share the URL, share the password, right? You share the URL and then also tell them, okay, the last 2 characters are missing, and these are the last 2 characters that you can send either through the text or through however you are sharing your URL, right? So using the URL as well as the last 2 characters, the end user will be able to get the full password, right? So this is one hacky way of using such kind of app, right? So what will happen, even if everything is compromised, last 2 characters will not be visible, or either star, or you can omit it, whichever way. And then you have to tell the other person, okay, from the URL you will get half part, the last 2 character is this and this, whatever it is, right? So that's how I will use this kind of a system, because there is a high chance that there might be a security compromise, right? And I don't want to be part of that victim, right? So if you happen to use such kind of system, maybe you can try using this kind of trick. And it need not be the last 2 characters, right? It can be first 3 characters, or it can be 1 first character, 1 last character, right? You can make your own combination however you want, right? Great. So with this, we have completed this small mini project, and I really hope that you have enjoyed building this project with me. Do share your thoughts in the comment section. How did you like? And I have kept all my mistakes in this video. I'll not edit that out, so that you will also learn how I debug when I make mistakes. Okay, and do give the video a thumbs up so that YouTube will recommend this video to more and more number of people. And do subscribe to the channel, because I will keep bringing more and more such content to this channel. And I will see you in the next video.